In 2025, over 300,000 people in the UK are homeless. That's enough to fill Wembley Stadium 3 times over. Homelessness is no longer just a silent crisis. It's a growing storm affecting cities across the country, from bustling London streets to quieter towns like Cardiff. More people than ever are living without a roof over their heads, and the reasons might shock you. What's driving this surge? Is it soaring rents, job losses, or something even deeper, like systems failing the most vulnerable? And which cities are facing the worst of it? Some of these places might surprise you. One city has seen a 40% increase in homeless families in just a year, while another is struggling with an epidemic of rough sleeping on its iconic streets. These are more than just numbers. They're real people, and their stories reveal the cracks in our society that are getting harder to ignore. Stay with us as we count down the 10 cities in the UK battling the harshest homelessness crisis. We'll uncover what's fueling this tragedy, how it's impacting communities, and what, if anything, is being done to stop it. If you think homelessness is only a big city problem, think again. The answers may surprise you, but they're too important to miss. Number 10. Cardiff. Cardiff, the vibrant capital of Wales, has long been known for its culture, history and charm. But beneath its picturesque streets lies a growing crisis. Homelessness is steadily rising, making Cardiff one of the top 10 cities in the UK, grappling with this issue in 2025. Recent reports reveal that Cardiff has seen a 20% increase in homelessness over the past year, with more than 4,000 individuals now living in precarious conditions. Rough sleeping has become a common sight in the city centre, particularly in areas like Queen Street and Bute Park. Families with children now make up a growing portion of the homeless population, highlighting the severity of the issue. Cardiff's housing market has been struggling to keep up with demand. The rapid rise in rental costs, combined with a shortage of affordable housing, has forced many residents out of their homes. For others, issues like unemployment, mental health challenges, and addiction have created a perfect storm, leaving them with no safety net. This crisis has strained Cardiff's shelters and support services, many of which are already operating at full capacity. Local charities like the Woolwich and Cardiff Council's Housing Options team are doing what they can, but the resources are far from sufficient. While initiatives like the Welsh Government's Housing First programme show promise, progress is slow. The city still faces an uphill battle to provide long-term solutions and support for those in need. Cardiff's story is a stark reminder that homelessness isn't just a problem for larger cities, it's a growing issue everywhere, demanding urgent attention. As we move to number 9, the crisis deepens further. Number 9, Bristol. Bristol, a city known for its creativity and cultural vibrancy, now finds itself grappling with a growing homelessness crisis. Once celebrated for its innovation, the city's rising popularity has brought challenges, leaving thousands of residents struggling to find stable housing in 2025. Homelessness in Bristol has surged by an astonishing 25% in the past year, with over 5,000 individuals affected. Areas like Broadmead and Stokes Croft have become stark reminders of the issue, with rough sleepers and makeshift shelters becoming increasingly common. Even families and young professionals are being swept into homelessness as the city's housing market becomes ever more unaffordable. At the core of Bristol's crisis is its housing shortage. The city's booming reputation as a hub for tourism and creative industries has led to skyrocketing rents and an influx of short-term holiday rentals, displacing long-term tenants. Add to this the growing cost of living and stagnant wages, and many residents find themselves unable to keep up. The effects ripple through every corner of the city. Public spaces are increasingly used as temporary shelters, while support systems like food banks and outreach programs are overwhelmed. Mental health challenges and addiction issues, often intertwined with homelessness, are rising, compounding the problem. Despite these challenges, local organisations and city initiatives are working tirelessly to combat the crisis. Emergency shelters and programmes like Caring in Bristol's support network are making a difference, but the pace of progress remains slow. The city is pushing forward with affordable housing projects, but for many, it's a race against time. Number 8, Edinburgh. Edinburgh, Scotland's historic capital, is known for its iconic landmarks and bustling tourism industry. However, behind the grandeur of the castle and the charm of the Royal Mile, the city is grappling with an escalating homelessness crisis. In 2025, Edinburgh ranks as the 8th worst city in the UK for homelessness, with the situation worsening year by year. The city has seen a significant rise in homelessness, with estimates indicating that over 4,500 people are without stable housing. Rough sleepers are a common sight in areas like Princes Street Gardens and Waverley Bridge, highlighting the stark contrast between the city's prosperity and its growing social challenges. Families, single adults and young people are all affected, with many struggling to navigate Edinburgh's increasingly unaffordable housing market. One of the key drivers of this crisis is the impact of the city's tourism-driven economy. The rise of short-term holiday rentals, particularly through platforms like Airbnb, has drastically reduced the availability of long-term housing for residents. This, combined with soaring rents and a lack of new affordable housing developments, has forced many out of their homes. The consequences are dire. Edinburgh's shelters and support services are under immense strain, often unable to accommodate the growing demand. Public spaces and transit hubs have become makeshift shelters, and the pressure on mental health and addiction services is rising rapidly. Efforts to combat homelessness in Edinburgh include programmes like Housing First Scotland and local council initiatives aimed at expanding affordable housing. However, progress remains slow, and many vulnerable individuals continue to fall through the cracks. As we climb higher on this list, the extent of the homelessness crisis in the UK becomes even more troubling, with the next city shedding light on even greater challenges. Number 7, Sheffield. Sheffield, often called the Steel City for its industrial legacy, is now facing a homelessness crisis that reflects a growing national issue. In 2025, this vibrant northern city finds itself ranked 7th among the UK cities most affected by homelessness, with thousands of residents struggling to find stable housing. Sheffield has experienced a sharp increase in homelessness, particularly among young people. Recent reports estimate that over 4,800 individuals in the city are without a home, with youth homelessness making up a significant portion. Many of these young people are victims of family breakdowns, unstable employment, or the ongoing fallout from welfare cuts. The city's affordable housing stock has been unable to keep pace with demand. Rents in Sheffield, though historically lower than in other major UK cities, have risen rapidly in recent years, pricing out low-income families and individuals. Simultaneously, the number of temporary housing options has dwindled, leaving many with nowhere to turn. Sheffield's crisis has led to visible impacts throughout the city. Areas like the city centre and parks have become gathering spots for rough sleepers, while food banks and local charities are struggling to meet demand. Mental health services are stretched thin, leaving those most in need without adequate support. Despite the challenges, Sheffield is not without hope. Organisations like the Cathedral Archer Project and the City Council are working on solutions, including emergency shelters and targeted programmes for at-risk youth. However, these efforts are often underfunded and unable to meet the full scale of the crisis. As we move further up the list, the growing severity of homelessness in the UK becomes clearer, with even larger cities facing more profound challenges. The next city reveals just how deeply this issue is rooted in urban areas across the country. Number 6, Liverpool. Liverpool, a city renowned for its rich cultural history and musical legacy, is now battling a homelessness crisis that has placed it 6th on the list of UK cities most affected in 2025. While the city has long been a symbol of resilience, its growing homeless population is a stark reminder of the challenges faced by many of its residents. The number of people experiencing homelessness in Liverpool has risen to over 5,500, with rough sleepers and families increasingly visible across the city. Iconic areas like Lime Street and Bold Street have become hotspots for individuals seeking refuge. This surge reflects deeper systemic issues as more residents find themselves unable to cope with the rising cost of living and unstable housing options. Liverpool's homelessness crisis is fueled by a mix of factors, including a lack of affordable housing, stagnant wages, and the ongoing effects of welfare reforms. Cuts to public funding have further limited the availability of emergency accommodation, leaving many without access to shelter. The city's unemployment rate, though improving, still affects vulnerable populations, pushing them closer to the edge. The impact of this crisis extends beyond those directly affected. Local charities, such as the Whitechapel Centre, are overwhelmed by the demand for food, shelter and support services. Public spaces are often transformed into makeshift shelters, highlighting the urgency of the issue. Efforts are underway to address Liverpool's homelessness problem. Initiatives like Housing First Liverpool and expanded mental health support programs aim to provide long-term solutions. However, progress remains slow, and many residents are left waiting for help. As we move closer to the top of this list, the scale of homelessness in the UK's largest cities grows even more alarming, reflecting the deep and persistent challenges across the country. Homelessness is a crisis that affects us all, and every voice matters. Share your thoughts in the comments. What solutions do you think could make a real difference? If you found this video insightful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. It's just one click, but it means the world to us and helps us keep creating impactful content like this. Number 5. Glasgow. Glasgow, Scotland's largest city, is facing a homelessness crisis that has steadily worsened, placing it 5th on this list. Known for its vibrant culture and strong community spirit, Glasgow is now battling a housing emergency that affects thousands of its residents in 2025. Over 6,000 individuals in Glasgow are experiencing homelessness, with many forced to rely on temporary accommodations or live on the streets. Areas such as George Square and Buchanan Street have become hubs for rough sleepers, a stark reminder of the deepening crisis. Families, single adults, and those with complex needs are among the hardest hit as Glasgow struggles to provide adequate support. One of the key drivers of homelessness in Glasgow is the high rate of poverty and addiction issues. The city has one of the highest rates of drug-related deaths in the UK, and substance abuse often leads to or exacerbates homelessness. Additionally, a lack of affordable housing options and long waiting lists for council homes have left many vulnerable individuals with nowhere to turn. The consequences are far-reaching. Local shelters are overwhelmed, and charities such as Simon Community Scotland are working tirelessly to support those in need, often with limited resources. Public spaces and transportation hubs are frequently used as makeshift shelters, underscoring the urgent need for long-term solutions. Efforts to address the crisis include Glasgow's Rapid Rehousing Transition Plan, which focuses on reducing the reliance on temporary accommodations and providing permanent housing for those in need. While this initiative shows promise, progress has been slow, and the city continues to face significant challenges. As we move higher up the list, the scale of the homelessness crisis becomes even more evident, revealing the urgent need for action across the UK. Number 4. Leeds. Leeds, one of the UK's most thriving northern cities, is now struggling with a homelessness crisis that ranks it 4th in the country. Known for its economic growth and cultural vibrancy, the city faces an uncomfortable reality. Thousands of its residents are without stable housing, a problem that has escalated sharply in 2025. Reports indicate that over 7,000 people in Leeds are currently experiencing homelessness. From rough sleepers in the city centre to families living in overcrowded temporary accommodations, the issue is impacting a wide range of individuals. Areas like Briggate and Millennium Square are becoming visible reminders of the growing crisis as more people seek refuge in public spaces. The rising homelessness in Leeds is driven by a combination of welfare reforms, cuts to housing benefits, and a severe shortage of affordable housing. As property prices continue to climb, low-income households are often pushed out of the rental market. Additionally, the demand for council housing far exceeds supply, leaving many on waiting lists that can stretch for years. The impact of this crisis is far-reaching. Local charities and organisations such as St George's Crypt are working tirelessly to provide food, shelter and support services to those in need. However, the strain on these services is immense, and many individuals still fall through the cracks. Leeds City Council has launched initiatives such as the Street Support Scheme, aiming to provide more comprehensive help for rough sleepers. However, without significant investment in long-term housing solutions, the problem continues to grow. As we move to the top 3 cities on this list, the homelessness crisis becomes even more severe, highlighting the scale of this national emergency and the need for urgent action. Number 3, Manchester, often celebrated as the heart of the North, is now at the epicentre of one of the UK's most severe homelessness crises. Ranking 3rd on this list, the city is grappling with a problem that reflects the wider challenges faced by urban centres across the country in 2025. With over 8,000 people experiencing homelessness, Manchester's streets tell a story of increasing hardship. Areas like Piccadilly Gardens and the Northern Quarter have seen a growing number of rough sleepers, while shelters are struggling to cope with the surge in demand. Families, individuals with mental health challenges and young people are particularly affected, showcasing the broad and devastating scope of the crisis. Manchester's housing market is one of the key culprits. The city has witnessed a dramatic rise in rents and property prices, driven by its growing economy and appeal to professionals and investors. This boom has left low-income residents struggling to keep up, forcing many into precarious living situations or outright homelessness. Cuts to housing benefits and the lack of affordable housing developments have only compounded the issue. The human cost of this crisis is profound. Public spaces are being used as makeshift shelters, and local services like Mustard Tree and LifeShare are overwhelmed as they try to provide food, support, and housing assistance. Mental health challenges and addiction, both causes and consequences of homelessness, are rising rapidly in the city. Efforts to tackle the issue include Manchester City Council's homelessness prevention strategy, which aims to provide more housing options and support services. However, the scale of the problem remains daunting, requiring a national coordinated response. As we approach the top 2 cities, the intensity of the homelessness crisis becomes even more alarming, revealing the pressing need for action across the UK. Number 2, Birmingham, the UK's second largest city, finds itself grappling with a homelessness crisis that has placed it near the top of this list. Despite its reputation as a bustling economic hub and cultural melting pot, Birmingham is facing a reality where thousands of its residents are without a secure place to call home in 2025. The city is currently home to over 9,500 individuals experiencing homelessness, including rough sleepers, families in temporary accommodations, and hidden homeless populations couch surfing with friends or relatives. The issue is particularly visible in areas like New Street and Digbeth, where makeshift shelters and rough sleepers have become a common sight. Birmingham's homelessness crisis stems from several interwoven challenges. The city's housing market is under immense pressure, with demand far outstripping supply. Rents have soared, and the availability of affordable housing has plummeted. Additionally, Welfare cuts and reforms have left vulnerable individuals unable to make ends meet, pushing many into homelessness. For families, the situation is especially dire, with some spending months or even years in overcrowded temporary housing. The social and economic impacts are profound. Public spaces are being used as de facto shelters, while local services like food banks and support organisations such as St Basil's and Sifa Fireside are stretched to their limits. Mental health and addiction issues often intertwine with homelessness, creating a vicious cycle that is difficult to break. Despite the challenges, Birmingham is making strides to address the crisis. Initiatives like the Rough Sleepers Initiative and targeted housing programmes aim to reduce rough sleeping and provide more permanent housing solutions. However, progress remains slow, and the scale of the problem demands greater resources and national attention. As we move to the number one city on this list, we'll see the epicentre of the UK's homelessness crisis, a city where the challenges have reached unprecedented levels. Number 1. London. The UK's capital, and a symbol of wealth and opportunity, is at the centre of the country's homelessness crisis in 2025. With over 15,000 people experiencing homelessness, the city faces challenges that dwarf those of any other UK urban centre. From rough sleepers in Westminster to overcrowded shelters in East London, the issue is impossible to ignore. A staggering 30% increase in rough sleeping over the past year highlights the severity of the problem. Iconic areas such as Trafalgar Square and the South Bank now serve as makeshift homes for those without shelter. Families, individuals with mental health issues, and even professionals who have fallen on hard times are all part of this growing population. At the root of London's crisis is its unaffordable housing market. With some of the highest rents in the world, many residents are forced to spend the majority of their income on housing, leaving them vulnerable to eviction. The lack of social housing, combined with welfare cuts and rising living costs, has pushed thousands into homelessness. The impact is immense. Shelters and charities like St Mungo's and Crisis are overwhelmed, unable to meet the growing demand for food, shelter and support. Public spaces have become refuges for the homeless, and mental health services are under immense pressure to address the needs of those affected. Efforts to combat homelessness in London include the Rough Sleeping Initiative and affordable housing projects led by local councils. However, these measures have not kept pace with the escalating crisis, leaving many without help. London's homelessness crisis is a sobering reminder of the urgent need for systemic change. Bold action, increased funding, and long-term solutions are essential to address this national emergency and ensure every individual has a place to call home. Homelessness is more than just a statistic. It's a deeply human crisis that impacts lives, communities, and the very fabric of society. From London to Cardiff, the stories of those affected reveal a harsh reality. The rising cost of living, lack of affordable housing, and strained social services have left thousands of people without a safe place to call home. As we've seen, the crisis isn't confined to a single city or region. It's a nationwide challenge that requires urgent attention. While initiatives like Housing First and local council programmes are steps in the right direction, the scale of the problem demands more comprehensive, coordinated efforts at both the local and national levels. But awareness is the first step toward change. By shining a light on the homelessness crisis, we hope to inspire action from governments, communities, and individuals. Whether it's volunteering, advocating for policy changes, or simply starting a conversation, we all have a role to play. Let's work together to create a society where everyone has the opportunity for a safe, secure, and dignified life. After all, no one should be without a home in one of the world's most developed nations. Addressing homelessness in the UK requires a multifaceted approach that tackles both the immediate needs of those affected and the systemic issues driving the crisis. While the challenges are significant, solutions are within reach if we prioritise action and collaboration. First, affordable housing must be at the centre of the strategy. Governments need to invest in building more social and affordable housing to ensure that low-income families and vulnerable individuals have access to stable accommodation. Policies that regulate rental prices and curb the impact of short-term holiday rentals can help prevent further displacement. Second, the Housing First model, which provides permanent housing as a foundation for addressing other challenges, has proven successful in countries like Finland. Scaling up this programme across the UK can provide long-term solutions for rough sleepers and those in precarious living conditions. Third, mental health and addiction services must be expanded and integrated with homelessness support. Many individuals experiencing homelessness face these challenges, and addressing them is key to breaking the cycle of homelessness. Lastly, community-driven initiatives and increased funding for local charities can offer immediate relief to those in need. From food banks to emergency shelters, these organisations are lifelines for thousands of people. Ultimately, tackling homelessness requires political will, public awareness, and a commitment to treating housing as a fundamental human right. By acting together, we can build a future where homelessness is no longer an inevitable part of life in the UK. Homelessness is a crisis that affects us all, and your voice matters. Let us know in the comments, what do you think is the most urgent solution? Don't stop here. Watch our previous video for more insights into social issues shaping the UK today. We pour our heart into creating these videos, so if you found this valuable, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. It's just one click, but it makes a world of difference to us.